Hello Internet, my name is Zephyr and welcome to Quick Review, and I'm very excited because I'm covering yet another figure that I've been waiting very patiently for. This is the Transformers Animated Universe Fugitive Wasp or Fugitive Waspinator for the Transformers Age of the Primes line. And while he may just be a green repaint of the animated Bumblebee figure from last year, the reason why this figure is so special is because it was initially supposed to come out with the original animated line, but got cancelled last minute. It's a repaint that animated fans have been asking for years and we never thought that we were gonna get, so when it was announced that they're actually doing it, it kinda became a big deal. And while a lot of people think the new Age of the Primes packaging looks boring, I'm just really happy that the plastic window is back so people can't steal parts off the figures anymore. The only downside is because the Studio Series is adopting the same packaging, they are getting rid of the cardboard insert for you to display your figures that has the background. Not too much of a downside though, because hardly anybody uses these in the first place. Semantics aside and getting into the actual review now, I'm going to begin in vehicle mode because that is where I have a majority of my issues with this figure. While I do appreciate them sculpting in the taillights, I do wish they at least painted them because the back of the car just looks so plain being all solid one color. And don't even get me started with the sides of the car because the sides of the car look so atrocious, especially without the boosters plugged in. I get that they want to cover every modern Transformer in 5mm ports, but that they really need to put that one under the mirrors because it looks so out of place and it just makes the side of the car look so ugly. I'm also really not digging the two-tone window that they just left unpainted for you to stick the rocket boosters into. It makes the car look extra ugly when you don't have the rockets plugged in, so whenever you have this in vehicle mode, I highly suggest plugging the rockets in so that way it hides it just a little bit. Now, getting into vehicle mode size comparisons, this is where my biggest issue with this figure comes out because this thing is incredibly small and it makes it hard to feel like you're not getting ripped off. And you'll see exactly what I mean when we show this figure off in robot mode. Here I have him next to the original animated Bumblebee, and back then a lot of people voiced their complaints that this animated Bumblebee was just too big. Bumblebee was the smallest character in the whole show excluding humans, but he was not this small. I do understand that this figure was not made to scale with the original animated figures. It was made to scale with the new animated figures. For example, here I have him with the new animated Motormaster. And as you can see, the scale works much better between these two. But part of the reason why I feel like you're getting ripped off and why this should have been a core class is because of how small it is. Spinning the vehicle around, it is absolutely tiny. It feels like it could fit in your pocket. And while that may appeal to a lot of people, this is a really cute figure. I do love it. Look at the size of my hand, and now compare it to the size of the figure. This thing is a core class that they are selling for deluxe price point. You could try making the argument all day that, oh, it has advanced engineering, that's why it's a deluxe. But is it really? Because there have been core classes with better articulation and engineering that are still core classes. Getting into transformation now, as always, if you haven't seen one of my videos before, I always speed up the transformations because I don't want to waste your time. Here he is in robot mode, and he looks much better than I initially gave him shit for. Now granted, I was talking about the Bumblebee version, but because this is the exact same mold, just with a different shade of paint and a different head, it's the same figure. And having them in hand, I do take back a lot of what I said, but I'm still not a fan of the forced G1ification on these legacy figures. Getting into robot mode size comparisons, here I have him next to the original Bumblebee, and yeah, I do understand why people were voicing their complaints because he is quite tall, but he was definitely not this short in the show. Here he is next to the legacy animated Prowl, and these two figures scale much better together because they're actually designed to scale together. But this is exactly what I mean by when I say he should have just been a core class, because here I have him next to a knockoff of Activator's Ratchet, and they are the exact same height. For those of you who remember Legends class, the Activators were ever so slightly taller, being roughly around the same size, so that means that these two are Legends class size. Look at this. This started out as a joke when I made my Transformers 1 quick reviews because I thought those figures were small, but this thing is even smaller than a can of soda. May I remind you that this is supposed to be a deluxe class figure. Some final nitpicks that I want to point out, the first regarding his feet. As you can see, they sculpted his feet to look like the front of the car. However, if you spin the figure around, he does use the actual fronts of the car, but they're making up his heels. So why not just use the actual fronts of his car for the actual feet. Yes, these feet are more show accurate, but the same cannot be said for the rest of the robot. The same cannot be said for any of the legacy animated figures, not even the Optimus, because they are all too chug. They are all too big and bulky for the animated aesthetic. And it makes me really hate this stupid hill that they are choosing to die on with these animated figures, because they should have just given us the proper animated aesthetic rather than forcing this G1 nonsense on them. On the flip side, something that's still going to sound like a nitpick but is actually a positive is that I do love the fact that they included the ability to have the rocket boosters on his back despite having to remove them and manually put them on his back, whereas on the original figure you could transform it without ever having to remove them. Another thing that I love is that they gave him the actual Wasp head rather than the repainted Bumblebee head that the original figure was going to have, and despite my gripes with the forced G1ification on these animated figures, I do have to give them credit because they never miss when it comes to the head sculpts. They always look incredible. But giving my closing remarks, I do genuinely like this figure, and I do think it's awesome that after all these years we finally got the Fugitive Wasp figure. It's kind of funny because it's the animated Motormaster situation all over again, because I purposely chose not to pick up Bumblebee because I already have an animated Bumblebee that I'm very content with. When this repaint was announced, I lost my marbles and I knew I had to pick it up. And you know what? Just like the animated Prowl, with all the critiques that I have for this mold, it still fits in really well with the rest of my animated collection, which is why I will be displaying him proudly alongside his Decepticon brethren on my animated shelf. Also, he's the perfect figure to replace this knockoff Activator's Ratchet that I have. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on whether I'm being too harsh on a figure and if I should just let it go, or am I justified? Be sure to hit that like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel as it greatly helps out, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next one. And I have a very special announcement to make because I am doing my very first ever giveaway where I am going to be giving away this fully 3D printed custom Matrix of Leadership popcorn bucket. How is it a popcorn bucket, you may ask? Well, that is because you are able to pull this matrix apart just like in a movie and flip the center crystal around, revealing a bowl for you to put your snacks into. And here's how you can enter. Just send an email to zephyrprojectgiveaways@gmail.com, and most importantly, make sure the subject says giveaway entry if you want your entry to be counted. I will be choosing at random and I will announce the winner on April 7th, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned.